Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are here at Bat City Comic Professionals coming to you live, which means it must be time to wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to tell you all about this week's indie and small press new releases. And as always, I'm so excited to talk about all of the great comics that came out this week, including what were my picks of the week. But before we can get to that, we, of course, need something to wind down our weekend with. So we are kicking it off this week with a bottle of Tempranillo, which is, of course, my favorite kind of wine. If you watch the show, you know that. But this is a Finca Nueva, and it is, of course, a Spanish wine because all Tempranillo wines must come from Spain. But this one says that it's the grapes are like aged for 12 months, and then it's like pressed from there, do all kinds of cool stuff to keep it really like strong in its flavor. So black cherries and baking spices. Still don't know what we mean when we say spices necessarily, but the fact that they went specific with baking spices, I'm like, are those going to be like cinnamon, nutmeg? I don't really know. I mean, you could be like Lowry's seasoning salt is a baking spice. I mean, anything could be a baking spice. So if you're like a sommelier and you're out there and you know exactly what baking spices people put in wine, please someday comment on this show and explain that to me, because I would absolutely love to know. But we are going to try it and see how it tastes. And I'm going to bet whatever those baking spices are, they're delicious. Yep, I was right. Whatever those baking spices are, I'm in. Oh my gosh. That's like trickstery smooth Tempranillo, and then those spices get you on the backside, like way far down.
Well, that's good.
Like, that's a nice smooth wine. Good choice. Where did you get this one from, Matt? Walmart? What? And you said these were like $12 or something like that?
It was $12 clearance. It's like a $20 bottle of wine.
Wow. All right. Well, it's delicious. So if you got a Walmart near you maybe and you like wine, I would definitely recommend popping in and picking this one up, especially while it's on clearance, because that's a great deal. We're going to be drinking this throughout the night. Let us know if you're hanging out. Drop in the comments that you're showing up, whether you're watching live on Facebook or if you're watching it later on YouTube. We do go back and read the comments even from there. So let us know that you're joining us and that you're hanging out. Even if you're not winding down your weekend, that's totally okay. You're still winding it down and getting into the comics, and that's what we care about. Before we get into those comics, we're going to talk about a couple things we did this week that were really exciting. It was such a crazy big week for us. Wednesday, of course, we closed a little early because Matt was in the Mayor's Hot Dog Classic, which was, I guess, classic hot dog tournament, that eating contest. Yes. So Matt,
We're not making them.
No, we didn't make hot dogs. Matt ate hot dogs. And it was at the Bradenton Marauders game, and so it was super cool. It supported the Bradenton Police Department's charity organization arm, which was awesome. And Matt got to get out there and eat a bunch of hot dogs, and it was a ton of fun for us. I hope it was fun for Matt. I believe it was. You've seen the picture of how excited he looked afterwards. He ate a ton of hot dogs. The winner did eat 19, and kudos to that winner. That is a lot of hot dogs. Congratulations, sir. And then we got to hang out with a ton of great friends and have fun at the Marauders game, which we ended up like pulling off a really great game and having some fireworks and fun times. So thank you to the Marauders, the Mayor, and the BPD for a great kickoff to the 4th of July week. We were closed Thursday for the 4th of July. We had an amazing time. Thank you, everybody for letting us have that day off. That was super chill of everybody to not be like, why are y'all closed? And thanks I hope you enjoyed your time with resting and spending time with your family and friends, if that's what you chose to do with your 4th of July. And then, of course, Friday we had our subscriber party, our quarterly celebration with our regular customers who have their pull list subscriptions with us. It's so great to get to spend some time with everybody all at once, as many that could come and hang out. And there were so many of you just hanging out here Friday night, so that was a lot of fun. If you are a subscriber, make sure to keep your eyes peeled for the next one coming up in the fall or winter time period as we get closer to whatever you want to call those other seasons. But always a good time. And then yesterday we had, Slam Academy for editing. And then in the morning, Alex and I, one of our volunteers, got to go out to Port Charlotte, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away, and hang out at the Port Charlotte Public Library and take our Academic Avengers event there. So if you come out for Academic Avengers, we do it annually in April to just get kids excited about reading and literacy and playing fun games with their family in ways to do that. We got to take that on the road, and it was super cool. We took our regular standard Infinity Panels Challenge and our Hulk Smash game with us, but we also got to take 2 new games, our Spidey Sensory Challenge and our World's Greatest Detective game, which were both really fun, and we are going to be taking them out once again this week over to the Shann Staub Library down in Northport area. So really excited to see Academic Avengers being a little traveling road show for the summer to bring some fun, exciting events to our local public library system across the entire Suncoast. That's where we're hitting other counties. So if you're a librarian and you are looking for some fun stuff that you can do in your library and you want us to come out, let us know. Or if you want us to send you a guide on how to make the games yourself so you can play them all year long in your library, let us know, because we're happy to share any of that information with you as well. And then coming up this week, we've got this Thursday, our book club is moving to Thursdays, and this Thursday is the first time our adult book club will be on. This sounds so funny to say adult book club and then hold up this book, but our book club for adults, I should say, the Fresh Start Book Club is coming your way this Thursday at 7 p.m. and we will be reading Sex Criminals #1 from Chip Zdarsky and Matt Fraction, and I'm so excited. This is such a great book. If you haven't read it yet, it's going to be an absolute blast for you to get to read this, and I can't wait to talk to a bunch of people who have both read it a million times or who are reading it for the first time as we come together to do that. So we will be meeting in the classroom this Thursday. Again, this is Fresh Start Book Club is geared more towards adults who are looking to get into fun, exciting indie comics that they might not have checked out before. And if you haven't, this is only $1. So this is a great way to do it. We only read the 1 issue and then we move on to a different book the next month. And you can come see our board for what those books are going to be over the next couple of 12 months. In the shop. So yeah, but come join us for that. And then like I said, this will be heading out to Northport for Academic Avengers, but the store will be open still. And then Saturday, I believe we have our lettering slam class. So and there I think is something in the morning. Oh yeah, it's Comic Creation Workshop weekend. So this Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m. if you've got kiddos who have always wanted to make comics, now is a really great time to bring them out and get to stay away from all the heat outside and find something free and fun to do. They can come out and learn to make their own comics. So feel free to bring them out this weekend and join us. And speaking of making comics, I did forget, we had the J Babies come out this last Tuesday from J Babies Preschool just across the street. It was super great to have them out. We had a special Dogman themed field trip, and I want to say that on the show because so many of you have sent us messages or comments or emails asking if we're going to do that for the general public. So we will be putting a Dogman Day on the calendar soon for all of you who want to make sure your kiddos get to have the Dogman Day experience. So keep an eye out for that coming your way, because we had so much fun doing it for the J Babies field trip that we know you're going to love it. So it's definitely going to be coming your way. And that said, speaking of things coming your way, I have a bunch of great comics that came out this week that are going to be coming your way in just a second. So I'm going to take one more drink of this Finca Nueva Tempranillo. Man, that's so good. And then we're going to get started. And we're going to kick it off with Local Man issue 11 from Image Comics. This is such a cool thing. We're starting to see it happen a lot. Now that this book came out, I feel like we're seeing this concept being done more and more. But this is essentially what would it be like if you shoved 90s Image Comics characters into the modern society. And so we've got a guy who was supposed to be like a part of one of those Image teams, and now he's found himself kicked out of the team and having to return home. And as with all things, we learn that returning home is never as easy as you think it's going to be. And in arc 1, we saw him kind of go through a lot of trouble of solving a mystery that was happening in his town that he's not supposed to be a part of, because he's not allowed to stop crime anymore. But after he finds out that, you know, people from his childhood have grown up and maybe didn't all make the right choices, you know, now the town's kind of been destroyed and is desolate, and he's working to rebuild it. But while he finds that, a lot of other people are also working to rebuild it, and the way they're doing it is through this evil cult type environment. And he's had that experience before, and he knows something dangerous is afoot, and so he is trying once again to solve the mysteries that are to come. This is actually an Eisner Award nominee for Best New Series this year, so if you haven't checked it out yet, I strongly recommend that you grab the trade paperback of Volume 1 and give it a go for that first story arc, because it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's a really great commentary on what we did with 90s superheroes, and also gives you a chance to feel the love that you had for them with beyond the nostalgia glasses, like actually getting to see what it could be if we put it into today's world and we kind of modernized it. And then you also get these classic like 90s style stories that kind of give you the information about the group, and it's like, oh, was this a real character? Maybe not. You know, it feels like they're trying to make you think, you know, it is essentially from the 90s by giving you these little like backup stories that are like, hey, here, if it had existed in the 90s, this is what it would look like. So you always get 2 stories in every issue, one of the current story and one of the 90s comic, essentially. Tim Seeley always does a great job with writing, and Tony Fleece on art is just crushing it. So definitely check that out. We've got Holy Roller, issue 7, also from Image Comics, and this one's coming to you from the Giant Generator imprint, which is Rick Remender's line of books, and he is actually writing this with one Andy Samberg, and yes, I do mean that Andy Samberg from Saturday Night Live and Lonely Island fame. And this is very much kind of like a Mystery Men kind of story, because this is about a guy who, you know, growing up in a small town, his dad wanted to be a professional bowler, kind of only made it to amateur level, but he was very embarrassed by that being his dad's claim to fame. And so he ran away, like moved out, did the Peace Corps, did whatever else he could do that just kept him on boats in places far away. And when he returns, because he's told that there is something wrong, his dad may be dying, he comes home to find out that racism and terrorism have taken over his home, and he needs to, they need a vigilante who can fight back against everything that's been going on. And so he decides the only thing he's got that can stand out is the bowling skills of his father, and so he uses the bowling identity as a way to fight back against all of the crime that is uprising in his home. And you know, honestly, when the issue 1 came out, I was like, this is a little over the top ridiculous, like I don't know if this is going to be the book for me. And honestly, I'm so glad that I waited for the Shann rule of 3 and I read the 3 issues, because this book has become so incredibly good. And the heart behind it is definitely there. And the messages that Rick and Andy are sharing in it are so strong. It's such a great book, but it still has just enough of that humor to make it, you know, the Andy Samberg entertainment level, but with that heart that comes with that at the same time. So definitely check it out. And if you're a Samberg fan and you haven't picked it up, you are definitely missing out. We have the return of Public Domain with issue 6 from Image Comics. And this was Chip Zdarsky's newest creator-owned title that he was doing for Image. And it's been a hot minute since we had Volume 1. I think Volume 1, or Story Arc 1, started when we were still in Austin, and it went for 5 issues, and then now we're barely getting issue 6, and I'm so happy that it's back. If you haven't read it, it is essentially a story that mirrors a lot of stories we see in our industry, specifically that kind of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and the creation of a big superhero universe, and one person kind of getting all the credit and the other one kind of losing their rights. Except in this one, what we find out is the guy who lost all of his money and claim to fame was actually legally the sole owner of the rights of his character, and so he is now taking that back and is going to build out a new universe with his sons and a young intern who is coming to work for them. And so they have just started their own studio so that they can actually start working on a new comic. Meanwhile, the guy who used to own everything is real mad about it and is trying to bring out his own thing. But when they bring in the hot young creator that everybody loves, who, you know, has been writing all the books that no matter what everybody picks up and wears all black, and they call him, like, you know, the goth guy that comes in and tries to tell this older guy what to do, he's not gonna have it. And so we're gonna see, I think, some big changes, because both men are dealing with the fact that even though they created a huge character line a long time ago, the industry's not really looking for the same kind of stories they used to tell, and they have to adapt. Or step aside for the new generation. And how does that work in the comic world these days? Last Mermaid, issue 5. This is also from Image, and this is very much a cinematic adventure done by a storyboard artist for Disney. You can kind of see it feels like reading storyboards. But this is the story of a mermaid who is living in a post-apocalyptic world, or I guess it's just the apocalyptic world, and all of the water is gone, and so it's hard for her to find any places to make rest. So she has a giant mech suit that her and her axolotl best friend live in, and they go place to place looking for fresh water to not only refill her tank, but also to hopefully find a place to make a home in. And they thought they had found one early on in the first couple of issues. It did not work out, and instead they have found a new friend who is helping them lead them to a space that may be safe for all of them to be in. But as they are on their journey, they come into contact with the mutants of the world that exists today, and they have to go into battle against them. And they have to learn whether or not they can trust each other, because strangers in a wasteland is never something you know if you're truly able to rely on. And so we're going to see their friendship either kind of continue to develop or, possibly fall apart as they learn what trust really means to them. It's so pretty. We've got Sam and Twitch issue 4. This is the new Case Files series for them from Image Comics and your Spawn universe. I say this, I've said this every issue for the last 4 issues. If you have no idea who Sam and Twitch are because you didn't read Spawn, that's okay, because neither did I. And I love this story. I actually almost panicked because I realized that I did not read Sam and Twitch this week, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, I have to read this before I can start the show. But basically, Sam and Twitch were detectives who, are very different in how they run things. And Sam is that gruff, go at it, I'll rough him up to get my answers. And Twitch is kind of more of your nervous, follow the rules kind of guy. And they get in trouble, and Twitch is mad that Sam keeps dragging him down. So he ends up going out to help a friend in a small town. And he is having this case where body parts have been appearing in fields and nobody knows why. There seems to be a lot going on. And now we find that some scarecrows are being made out of humans, and it's creepy and crazy. And Twitch is like, I have to solve this case. But meanwhile, his family life is falling apart back home because he's never there. And Sam won't stop calling him. And also, I'm pretty sure there's some pretty shady stuff going on with the cops in this small town. That while some of them are kind of, we need you, we want you to join us, the other one seems to possibly be involved in some of the stuff that's going down. We've got a really good investigation going on here, and I can't wait to see how this plays out. If you're a fan of detective stories and you don't know Sam and Twitch, it's totally fine. Just read it for the really good detective story and the Simon Krodansky art. I'm a something epic sucker, so anytime Simon's involved, so am I. Up next, I'm going to take this and flip these little protective covers back really fast, because we finally have issues 3 and 4 of The Antagonist. I'm so excited, from Godhood Comics. This is so great. Issues 1 and 2 were super awesome, and everybody was digging them, and I'm glad that we finally have issues 3 and 4 in our hands. And I'm happy to report that 4 is not the end like I thought it was going to be originally, but that we are actually going to see, us go into even more stories. I'm not going to talk about 4 because I don't want, if you've only read up to 2, I don't want to ruin that. But just in case you haven't read any of it, the antagonist is all about a married couple and their kids who all have superpowers in a world where, like, other people have superpowers for sure. And the dad of the couple has always been has become a play by the rules kind of person because of what their past was. And he's like a principal in a school district, and he's like, look, we gotta lay low. We don't want people to know about our powers. We don't want them to come after us. And in issue 1, the mom is passed over for promotion, and she's real mad about the situation and how it went down, and she might have accidentally burned her boss to the ground because of it. And honestly, you're not going to disagree with her when you read the issue. But now that's put them on like some big radars, and that they've been trying to avoid for a long time. And if you've been following this story, you know a little bit about their past that definitely they do not want to stand out for. And these people who have been trying to lay low are now in some dangerous situations, and their kids have no idea what's coming for them. And so in issues 3 and 4, we kind of see that the two of them start to piece together that they're going to have to move quickly in order to make it out. And we see that the government is hot on their trail, and it is not going to be a good thing if they are found. And issue 4 kind of shows us what that might look like, and gives us a little teaser into how bad exactly it could be. These stories are fantastic. I absolutely love it. There's so many times where, you know, we see a lot of independent superhero comics, and it's like, oh, some of them read exactly like the big two, and it's like, oh, this is a story you wanted to do for Marvel or in DC, and you didn't really necessarily get to do it. And sometimes you really get these really powerful stories in the superhero world, and this is definitely one of them. I really love what they're doing with this story, and I can't wait to see Godhood pull some more out. We've got Space Ghost issue 3 from Dynamite. If you didn't know Space Ghost was back, here he is. This is like the year for people who love those like more classic pulpy characters coming back to you. And for Space Ghost, we are seeing him team up with 2 kids whose parents were doing some special experiments and building out some stuff that all kinds of different government entities and rulers wanted. And he's not... they're not able to hide them fast enough before somebody comes for them, and just happens to be some people that Space Ghost is tracking down. And now Space Ghost suddenly finds himself raising these 2 kids and trying to keep them safe while also trying to find out what it is that happened to their parents. And in this issue, they team up with a woman who is essentially a Black Widow who comes in. She's a villain. She's like, but I'm doing the right thing this time because these kids need to know what happened. You know, the enemy of your enemy is also your friend, right? And so the kids decide they want to team up with her, even though Space Ghost protests against it. And they all go on a mission, and you know, the mission might go a little sideways, but we're going to see whether or not the kids make it out, and whether or not they come to trust that Space Ghost does have their best interest at heart. And every time I read it, I just want to go, and their space monkey, Gleek, because they're trying so hard to protect Blip, the space monkey, through the whole thing. We've got the Trident of Aurelia, The Storm, issue 3 from Battle Quest Comics. This is our second volume of Trident of Aurelia. There is a trade paperback for volume 1 if you're looking to find a fantastic mermaid story to get you excited about mermaid adventures during this hot summer season. This is a great series to do that with. And in volume 1, we learned that we had the long-lost daughter of the Mermaid Queen, and now she is serving as Mermaid Queen, and an epic battle is coming their way. And she has been teaming up with people from all over different places throughout the ocean, trying to build her own team of, like, army, essentially, to go into this battle. And this is another case of us going to different kingdoms and kind of asking for help. And I love what they do here, because every time they go into these kingdoms, they have to have these big, like, epic battles and these moments of, like, crossing through things. And then a lot of times, like, they get there and the people are like, no, we won't help you. And, or like, oh, well, I'll give you this, but I won't go to help you. And it's like, I love that, because so many times it's like, oh, we earned our right. And they're like, you're right, we'll help you. But that's not the case here. And they are finally at the point where they're kind of out of time, and they just gotta go with what they have. And it's not looking so good for our mermaids and our queen, and especially by the end of this issue, we're gonna see if they can make it out alive at all. And again, fun mermaid story, and it is all like teen friendly. So we've got Robo Force issue 3 from Oni Press and our Nacelleverse, which is your oh my gosh, I'm gonna see if I can do it. Robo Force, Sectars, Biker Mice from Mars, maybe some Cowboys of Moo Mesa, Great Galoo. Garloo. I keep wanting to call him Grogu. So I always mess that one up. And there's one other one, but I don't remember what it is. Some kind of knights, but I can't remember what they are. Right. Anyway, that's more of your like 80s, 90s cartoons come back to life. And Robo Force being one of them. These are, as Santiago said on Santiago Saturday a couple weeks ago, this is unemployed Transformers looking to save the world. And that's exactly the case. These are robots who were made to save the world and to help out in different places, but they've been replaced by more advanced robots already before they ever even got to do their job. And one of their leader, Max, is like, I'm going to try to find a way to put us back into this world and to save our human who created us and make us, kind of get the work that she thought that we were made for. And he ends up teaming up with D-Note, who is kind of like the ruffian, like almost like he's not a Megatron because he's not technically a bad guy, but he's got some, bad guy tendencies. And they go and break into this lab to try to pull the chip that was supposed to be the one that they needed. And according to their human who created them could save the world. And D-Note gets in there and just has all of the wrong attitude towards everything, ends up killing a guard in issue 2, and now everybody's after them because of that. And so we find Max and D-Note trying to make their way through this entire facility to get out now that their heist has gone completely wrong. D-Note's all excited about the battling, and we learn that he has a massive chip on his shoulder, not just in their hands in this one, because he thinks that he was programmed to be bad from the beginning, and he thinks that that's why the creator never loved him as much. And he's kind of, got that death wish, but also definitely has that violence wish, and we're going to see where that leads him and where it leads Max as they work their way through to get out of this terrible place that he's put them in. We've got Scarlet issue 2 from Image, Skybound, and our Energon universe. So if you are a G.I. Joe fan, you probably are already picking this up. If you are a Transformers fan, if you didn't know you're crossing over with the G.I. Joe universe, you do now, and you'll need to this. And honestly, if you were just a fan of Kelly Thompson's Black Widow and you really wanted more, you should read Scarlet, because Kelly Thompson is writing this, and it feels like a Black Widow story that just happens to be in the G.I. Joe universe. But in issue 1, Scarlet has decided that she wants to go find her Jade, who is, her sister, essentially her counterpoint, and she has gone undercover for a long time in an organization that, if you know your G.I. Joe, you might recognize as like the home of Storm Shadow and some other famous G.I. Joe faces. And so she has gone in there to try to save Jade from this experience, but the only way she can do that is by also going undercover herself. And so she is trying to convince them that she is the kind of person that they should put into their organization. And so she has to battle her way through different parts of the organization to prove that she's got the fighting skills. And now they're like, we have the fighting skills, but the fact that you're here when you're a government operative, and we know that, means that you don't have loyalty to anybody that you've chosen to work with or has chosen to work with you. And so now what we really need to see is your proof of loyalty and your willingness to die for an organization. And so they assigned her a whole new operation for her to do on her own, and we are going to see in the next issue how that works out. But she knows that if she wants to save Jade, and at this point herself, she's going to have to go all in before she will ever make her way out. Again, it's Kelly Thompson writing just almost this like singular story, because it doesn't connect necessarily to any of the Energon universe just yet, other than that it is a G.I. Joe story. We're not crossing paths with any of the characters that have appeared just yet, but you are starting to open up more of the characters like Storm Shadow, who we haven't really seen yet. And I assume by the end of it, we'll see Snake Eyes. Who knows? or at least get a reference to it. Because I feel like if you have Storm Shadow, you have to get a reference to Snake Eyes. But that's like my one thing I know about G.I. Joe, so I could be wrong. All right, Toxic Summer issue 2 from Oni Press. This book is a riot. It's like your blob kind of toxic like monster story mixed with like Shaun of the Dead. Like if you made a Shaun of the Dead version of one of those, this is what you would get. This is about 2 boys who go to one of their grandmas for the summer because they want to have like hot boy summer where they just hang out at the beach and they have this like amazing experience with all of the other like teen and college kids in town who are going to just be living it up in the summer. So they volunteer as lifeguards, and then when they get there, it turns out the beach is covered in toxic sludge, and as they're cleaning it, they learn that this toxic sludge might be a little more dangerous than just their summer plans. And now there's all these creepy monsters coming after them. The humans are being mind controlled. Things are happening, but it's all really funny at the same time. It's such a fantastic story. I can't wait to see where this goes. They've just recently teamed up in this issue with a young girl whose party they were supposed to be going to, but they hadn't met yet. And her dad may be the culprit behind all of this toxic ooze and things coming their way. But whether or not they're able to ever actually put it all back together again is going to be something we find out. And we are left with some major cliffhangers at the end of issue 2. And I can't wait for 3. This is such a fun book. We've got Barbaric, Born in Blood, issue 2 from Vault Comics, and this is technically volume 4 of Barbaric, I think. We have been going in the Barbaric universe for quite some time, and I do recommend for Barbaric that you do go in order. Grab those first. All of the story arcs for Barbaric are only 3 issues long, so it's easy to grab those trade paperbacks of the other ones or the single issues and just catch up. Because at this point, you're pretty much looking at like what would normally be like 1 or like 2 trades to catch up. But this is the story of a barbarian named Owen who was a bloodthirsty, terrible person until he was cursed by witches to have to do the right thing, and in order to make sure that he did that, he was given or cursed with an axe that can talk, who also only wants blood, but neither of them are able to attack anybody unless it is an ability to help someone. Over the course of the series, we have made friends with some of his people from his past and some new people, including Soren the Witch. And in this last volume, we met Steel, who used to be a buddy and is now kind of a vampire-esque person. And they have been captured in this issue, and they choose to fight for their ability to be free and kind of take on this gladiator-type battle, except they didn't know who it was they were challenging and what they're getting themselves into, as always, because Steele and Owen always run their mouths before they check into anything. And what they find themselves facing is something neither of them are prepared to deal with. So check it out. If you haven't read Barbaric, highly recommend you grab a volume 1 and just jump in. We've got Kanto, A Place Like Home, number 2 from Dark Horse Comics. Kanto is my favorite little thingy ever created. I love him so much. And we are in essentially what is, I believe, going to be our final story for Kanto. But if you've never read it before, Kanto is about a little knight and his family and friends, and their hearts were all stolen by an evil sorcerer and replaced with clocks so that they would have to work for him until their time on Earth literally ended, and they just died because their clocks ran out. And Kanto decided that he wasn't going to be enslaved anymore, and he was going to go after the sorcerer. And now Kanto has an actual heart that he stole back from the sorcerer, and he is trying to do the same for all of his friends. But a big battle must come between him and the evil sorcerer, and that is where we are now. Kanto has spent the last few volumes running around trying to get people to be on his side, because nobody should have to live a life in slavery. And so he is working to bring apart the end of this evil sorcerer, and this battle has finally come to a head, and we're gonna lose some people. and we're gonna gain some new friends, and it's gonna be beautiful. I love this book so much. It is one of the happiest, most heartfelt, most wonderful stories that you're ever gonna read. They are just now putting volumes 1, 2, and 3 into hardcovers because they switched publishers over to Dark Horse. So we're getting hardcover volumes for those. So trade paperbacks are out of stock for those original volumes, but hardcovers are on their way. Volume 1 is out. You can grab that one now, and then we're gonna see the other ones come as well as we move closer to that. I've got one more number 2 before we flip to number 1, so I'm gonna go to that before I take another drink. But we've got Beyond the Pale number 2 from Dark Horse Comics. This is a wild book. When issue 1 came out, I was like, whoa, I did not think that's where this was going, and I'm so glad that I didn't know that, because this has been continues to just get good. This is about a woman who is an investigative reporter during Vietnam, and her whole thing is that it seems like a lot of men are going missing from this one like area that this platoon is stationed in, and it seems specifically like it's more so a lot of people of color or like young kids who are from poorer backgrounds and different things like that. And so she's like, those are all people who are getting stationed here, and then they're just disappearing, and I have no idea what's going on. And so she's come out to investigate what is happening and why these people are missing. And what she's finding is that the conditions for these soldiers are absolutely terrible, but B, there is something in the jungle that is bigger than anybody expected, and it's not just going to be about a war zone and things like that, but there is a bigger battle for people's lives awaiting them, and she's starting to see things, but she's not sure that they're real. She's kind of questioning that any of the stuff that she's seeing is actually there, but we're seeing it as readers, and it's actually there, and it is it's insane. So this is it's a really cool way of doing the war zone reporter story, but also giving us a little more fantastical into what we're seeing. So you should definitely check out Beyond the Pale for sure. All right, I'm going to take a drink of this Finca Nueva Tempranillo. All right. And then we're going to jump to the number 1s with new books that are launching this week. First up, we've got the Thundercats Chitara issue 1 from Dynamite Comics. This is really great because I don't remember the Thundercats all that much from when I was a kid. Like, it was like right before me. But I always thought Chitara was cool, like in her design, and so I've been really excited to see what they did for her story. And I have no idea if any of this is what actually happened on the cartoon, so if you do, please let me know. But she's so cool in this story. It basically takes us back. If you've been reading the Thundercat story, you know that Thundara, their planet is gone, and so this takes us back to that, and actually shows us that with the queen gone and Lionel being a young baby cub, that the king kind of comes to Chitara and is like, hey, I need your help raising this boy and making sure he becomes a good person. And so she's got this really hard job because she's one of the soldiers and warriors, but she's also like studying the ancient ways of the laws and the history and the priesthood. And now she's like, oh, and now I have to also raise this kid. And so we're kind of seeing her origin story and her connection to the king and to the prince and everything that kind of leads her down the path that puts her with this group when they do end up in the future. Sorry, I was about to sneeze and I was gonna look over the book. And so yeah, so it's really cool. I love seeing an origin story for her because, again, I don't know if any of this is actually ever in the story in the comics or in the cartoons, but it's really cool to give her one in the story, especially because for the comics so far, we've kind of just focused on where they are and the situation at hand, and Lionel's sudden grow up from being a little kid to suddenly being an adult and having to work with his power. So it's kind of cool to see her and backstory and her growth and her connection to the Sword of Omens and everything that comes from that. we've got Free Agents issue 1 from Image Comics. And I told you that recently we're seeing a lot of this, like, what if we put 90s style heroes in a today style world? And this book has a lot of that same feel, especially because it is Kurt Busiek and Fabian Nicieza working together. So it's kind of cool to see a very 90s-esque hero team come together to build out a story. But this is about a team that features I'm going to tell their names because they're kind of cool. It's Pike, Salvo, Katari, Chalice, Shakti, Ridge, and Murad. And they are soldiers from a bunch of different dimensions who were all battling for something, like to stop this interdimensional struggle, and ended up stranded on Earth together. And now that the war is over, or at least they think it is, they're like trying to just live lives on a regular world. But some of them don't know how to let go of the fact that the world might be over, or it might be normal, and that their own worlds are gone. And some of them are just trying to come into terms with like what their powers are and how to balance out and not use them. And some of them really just want to be normal. They're like, hey, now that we're on this earth and there's no problems, can we just like be, you know, she's a teenage, like college age girl. She's like, can I just be a college age girl? Can we just have a life? And we find that that's not necessarily in the cards for a lot of them, because once you are somebody that's fought in an interdimensional war, there's going to be people from other dimensions always coming after you. And one of the things is that their original leader of their team was lost in the battle, and so they're all kind of dealing with their guilt connected to their role in that, and it really comes into play in this issue, like the back half of it. This feels almost like you get 2 issues in one. It's a little oversized in thickness, and you kind of get one that sets up who they are as a hero team and who they are as individuals, and then like the back half is kind of the retelling of what happened with their interdimensional battle and the loss of their leader, and then where that's going to kind of take them for this struggle on their own as they move forward. And so if you're looking for a great superhero story, I mean, honestly, if you were a fan of Astro City, you know, Kurt Busiek has some really great ideas on how to write interesting, like, guilt-ridden heroes and heroes who are focusing on different things. This is going to definitely be one of those books that we're going to see a lot of characters come to growth and destruction as it comes over. And actually, I'm going to show you like this book completely like pulled out, because it does have a wraparound cover on it, so you can kind of see all of the heroes fighting side by side. Speaking of old heroes returning, we've got Grendel, Devil's Crucible Defiance, issue 1 from Dark Horse, and Matt Wagner has brought back Grendel. You know, we kind of knew it was coming because we saw some hardcovers with some extra pages get added in, come out recently, and so seeing it come back with a whole new story is great. Honestly, I feel like this is going to be one of those places too where if you've always wanted to read Grendel and you haven't checked it out before, I think this is going to be a spot that you can jump into, because it's kind of like he's the only one that we know of, and the Grendel culture has been outlawed. And so honestly, this book is just, it's Mad Max. He shows up and it's like, oh, you can't be this like person, so he's in hiding, and he comes in to this market, and he finds out like, oh, like there's all this tech stuff that people aren't allowed to have, and there's all these people who are selling it illegally, and there's all these different alterations and things that people are doing to their bodies. But if they find out that there's a Grendel in your midst, that they're going to come for them. And he goes up to a place, and he's specifically trying to find some very illegal parts, and they kind of he interacts with some other shady people buying some shady things from a shady vendor, and in the process of that, the government entity that is against them, the anti-Grendels as they're called, the AGs, come out and are in full force and ready to battle, and he's going to have to kind of see if he can make it through this one fight and figure out a way to survive as somebody who's been on his own and isn't used to it, and isn't used to a world where everybody hates him. Honestly, I kind of felt like this is the story that I wanted out of Thunderdome. When I rewatched that the other day, I was like, oh, this is, here we go. Like, we're getting a more detailed story of, like, feeling like you've been left and you've lost everything and you have to fight for it now, but you need this, like, certain, like, tech or water or whatever. I was like, it's it's a Mad Max story for the Grindel fans of the world. We've got All the Things We Didn't Do Last Night, which is a one-shot from Maria Lovett and Image Comics. And I'm going to check all of the pages before I show them because Maria Lovett always has the sexiest of books. And this was originally published in that Image 30th anniversary, but it's now collected, so you can actually read the story all at one time. But this is all about a young woman who is an art historian who's kind of becoming a thief. She puts the art back. I love her reasoning. She's got a really great story about what it is that she's actually stealing the art for. And I won't spoil that for you, but she is on her way to work one day and a guy spills coffee on her in the street. And we find out that he is a hitman who's supposed to be taking out some people. And the two bumping into each other actually is the cutest, weirdest meet cute that you ever will see. And they kind of arrange for a little date for the future, but neither one of them knows that like one of them's a hitman and the other one's a jewelry thief. And it's like, turns out that that's going to turn to be like the greatest alibi for both of them, as they're both going after their crime on the same night. And so the story is called All the Things We Didn't Do Last Night, because it's actually all of the things they lie about in their alibi as their story. And so the second half of the book is literally just the things that they would have done had they actually been together and not been committing crimes, as that builds them up to a great criminals to lovers kind of story. It is so cute. I love it so much. If you're an adult who is allowed to read Maria Lovett, you should absolutely grab this because it's just a beautiful one-shot of a love story. On the opposite end, if you're a kid or a kid at heart who needs a great summer story, we've got Betty and Veronica Summer Spectacular. This is super cute. I don't know if we actually got any new stories in this one. I think they were actually pretty much like all stories from the past, or but it's filled with tons of great Betty and Veronica stories. It does say there is a brand new story, but I don't feel like, I don't even think that story is in there that they show on the back. Anyways, the Summer Spectacular. The first one, of course, is Archie and Betty and Veronica's party getting ruined by the boys just being rambunctious while they're trying to have a nice party. Then we get a story of Darkling trying to go out. Archie is trying to convince Darkling to go to the beach, and she's like, the beach is awful. I don't want to go there because it's too sunny and terrible, and I don't want to be out there. And Archie is trying to convince her that it's wonderful, but it's obviously like all the things he does, he ends up complaining about, so it doesn't it end up being great. It was a new story. The first one from Tom DeFalco is new. And then we've got a story of the girls all playing volleyball on the beach, and they realize that they can use the volleyball as a way to get all of the boys that they want to pay attention to them. And it's all led by Ethel, who really is the brains behind the operation to get the boys' attention. And then we get a story of Archie trying to convince Betty and Veronica that they should go to the beach with him before the big dance, and they're like, but we want to rest and recover. And he's like, you'll totally get to rest. Beach days are super relaxing, except Archie doesn't get to relax at all because Betty and Veronica are constantly asking him for things, and so his whole day is overwhelmed with trying to make sure that the girls are happy at all times. And so you just get a bunch of really cute stories about the summer, and you get to spend some time just really, enjoying the beach and the summer sun with all of the gang.
Did you say a new story from Tom DeFalco?
It does say there is a new story from writer Tom DeFalco and artist Steve Butler. That's why I was like, there's not a new story, because I opened it up and I was like, it's Tom DeFalco, so it's got to be an old one. But it does actually say it's a new story from Tom DeFalco.
Dan DeCarlo is the Archie guy. Tom DeFalco is the creator of Carnage.
And it says a new story.
He's ever written.
No, that's how I was like,
I'll
that.
take that. Thank you.
Okay. That's what it says, right? Look on the back, make sure I'm right. Or look on the first story. And
it does say Tom DeFalco.
It does say Tom DeFalco. I'm not losing.
Creator of Carnage. It doesn't say that.
It does not say the creator of Carnage. There you go. All right, I'm going to do this one next. We've got Skin Deep. These are two, honestly, like Silver Sprocket books this week that I'm like, should I just make them picks of the week? But because they're so good, but they're just crazy Silver Sprocket books. But this one is called Skin Deep, like I said, and it is all about, it's told from the point of view of a girl who is a dancer, and all of the other girls are like, how is this the prima donna, essentially, of our ballet? Like, how is she able to do all these dances she's done? We've never noticed any alterations to her skin, and this girl's like, or to her body in any way, and she's like, oh, well, I know that she's got, you know, she's just been great and wonderful, and she's let me come in and see all of her secrets and help her, and she's just this wonderful, beautiful dancer, and I don't think there's anything different or special about her, except that she took an interest in me when nobody else would. And if you like Black Swan and you like how crazy that can get, Skin Deep is definitely a book for you. This is definitely one of those, like, sacrifices are needed to be a dancer, and sometimes you make them yourself and sometimes other people make them for you. But it's a crazy, beautiful, dark and sane story that you absolutely have to check out, and with all of the greatness of Silver Sprocket art and storytelling. So yeah, this one is done entirely by Flo Woolley, and definitely pick it up if you want some dark, creepy storytelling. And then just this little happy book called Lucky Cap Scouts. So great. This is all about a girl who collects the, like, little mystery box figurines, and they each have their own personality, and she brings home one, and then she's like, oh, you need a friend, and then they bring home another one, and then they all kind of start living their lives the way each of them would actually exist in the world if they were able to walk and talk and stuff. And so they're trying to figure out, like, what's going on in the world, how it's like what each thing means. Like, one of them has, like, the little egg hat, and it's like, oh, I just like to make eggs. And she's like, they're like, well, why do you like to make eggs? And they're like, I don't know, they're just fun. Like, they're weird texture, and they put the eggs smell in gas so people know it's dangerous. I mean, eggs are just a crazy cool thing that people should know, like, that they're all about. And then it's like, what about you? Why do you like coffee? And it's like, oh, I love coffee because it makes me a happy person, and also without it I would kill everyone. And it's like, just funny things like that. It's absolutely adorable. And then they ends up, one of them decides that they should bring home the specialty Lucky Cap that's inside of a claw machine, and it doesn't go exactly the way they plan, and they must save the day or lose it. But with most of these adorable Silver Sprocket books that we get sticker pages in the back. I love when Silver Sprocket gives me stickers. It makes me so happy. Shout out to them for constantly finding a way to put stickers into their story. It's so cute if you want just to feel good. I love it. It says, this is the best. I did a terrible job compared to this back blurb that says, when Checkers was unpacked in their new home, they had no idea about the variety of experiences that existence had to offer. There are point-and-click video games, new foods to taste, friendship with other scouts, and of course, existential dread. And I'm like, you wouldn't be a Silver Sprocket book without it. All right, I've got a couple of picks of the week, and I'm actually going to start it, and I never put licensed comics almost in my picks of the week, but I'm doing it because Doctor Who is back with issue 1 of the 15th Doctor from, like, books, and I'm so excited because I am so far behind on Doctor Who that I have not been able to get to this Doctor yet, and I've been waiting to, but getting to read this story reminded me of all the things that make Doctor Who incredibly wonderful, and I'm so glad Titan Comics is on top of it and putting this out already. But this is the story of our new Doctor, who is on an adventure with Ruby Sunday, who is his current companion, and they are tracing down a cybernetic arm, which, of course, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you know came from a Cyberman, but she doesn't know what it is, and they have gone to essentially the last shopping mall that ever existed on Earth, which is such a Doctor Who thing to do, and I absolutely love it. And they're like, there won't be any people here or anything, though, because everybody left Earth. And then it's like, nope, there's all these people. And basically everybody who didn't leave the Earth when it was destroyed ended up moving into this mall. And they're like, well, I'm not going to go on spaceships, because if I go on spaceships and they just crash out of the, like when the sky stops being able to hold them up and the spaceships fall out of the sky, what's going to happen then? And the Doctor's like, that's not how gravity works. That's not how any of those things work. And they're like, oh, but it should be. And so you just get the Doctor trying to explain reality to humans, which is the thing he is often trying to do. But also, at the same time, Ruby's been telling us about this story about feeling abandoned and alone in this horrible dream about being in a shopping center. So it's kind of course, Doctor Who asks that we end up inside of one. And they go to have a fun experience where they just try on a bunch of clothes about this apocalyptic world. But also they end up losing power in the mall. And when they go to hunt down what could be behind it, of course, we find some Cybermen. And we find ourselves in some danger. And of all the heart that comes with Doctor Who is definitely felt in this. And so for somebody who hasn't been able to see the new Doctor yet, because I still need to catch up, this was amazing. And a reminder that the Doctor is always incredible and always wonderful and always has the most positive messages. And I'm so excited to see the Doctor in comics. And if you didn't pick this up and you're a Doctor Who fan and you're watching the current Doctor, you definitely should be jumping into the comics to go with it. So excited. And then speaking of weird places, eccentric places to find happiness, Bear Pirate Viking Queen issue 3 from Image Comics was actually one of the most inspiring comics of the week, if not of the month. The month meaning like the last 30 days, not the fact that we're 7 days into July. But if you haven't been reading Bear Pirate Viking Queen, we have been seeing the story of a literal bear who has been traveling with a Viking who has been living as a pirate. And so we've kind of seen the like Norse versus English reality here as they come before the queen, who is like, I will kill you, Heimdall, you Viking. And he's like, I'm going to kill you, queen. And they go into this epic battle to see who's the best. And the bear's like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. And the bear just wanders off and goes back to the docks and finds the boat and is like, look, here's the thing. Like, they both came at one point or another to rule over the place that I'm from. You know, Heimdall came with his warriors and ruled us in his, barbaric way through barbarians. And England came and they brought their regency and they put all the rules on us for propriety. And neither of them actually gave us what we already had, which was freedom. They tried to force us into control. They tried to give us the requirements of their own regime. And what we really wanted was just to be left alone to explore our freedom and to live the way we wanted to live. And he's like, I'd rather just go back to that. And I don't want to have to live in their society and to just wait to die between bears, between pirates and queens and Vikings and men. I just want to live and I want to find the joy that exists in life. And it was such a great story and such a beautiful moment. And then you get this great letter, and honestly, like, the letter alone from Sean Lewis at the back would have been enough to make this book like a pick of the week. Like, I was already like, this is really good. Is Bear Pirate Viking Queen going to be my pick of the week this week? And then I read the letter and I was like, Sean Lewis's letter is my pick of the week. And, he just talks about how, like, everything we do, we face oppression. We have laws and bills and neighbors and coworkers and people who judge us and all the things that go into us. And the world is just about, I have to surpass everybody else. I have to surpass people and leave them behind. I have to do what everybody expects of me. And if I'm not the best at what I do, then I don't even matter. And he's like, what is it that we need to focus on? He's like, we need to be the bear. And what the bear says is, become what you are. Because we all know when we are quiet what that is. We don't need to win at all costs. We don't need to destroy. We don't need hierarchy or power or status. We need to be free. That's all we are. It's all we've ever been. The world makes us forget that. We make ourselves forget that. And it's there and it's true. So remember the bear. And I was like, that letter alone, worth it. So, this week, go out and be the bear and explore what makes you happy in life and what makes you feel complete. And think about, like he said, like, listen to the moments in the silence when you remember what it is that matters to you and what feels good in your life, and find a way to use that power of the bear to make yourself feel free. And if you don't feel free, it's probably because you have the life of a house cat who is depressed. And that is my last pick of the week. This is Woe, the house cat's story of despair. And it is a Random House graphic novel. And this is absolutely fantastically based off of the delusions that my spoiled rotten cat has. This is about Linny, who is a cat that is adopted as an adult. And is like, they're so happy, and I love it because that's how we adopted our pumpkin when she was already like 7 years old, and that's what Linny is supposed to be, is somewhere around there. And they're like freaking out about, like, if you're this cute now, how cute could you be when you were a baby and stuff like that. But Linny, as with most cats, is like, my life is meant to be lived sleeping and doing the things that I enjoy. And when you come around humans and you get in my space, you ruin it. But also when you're not in my space, I'm mad at you because you don't love me anymore, and I don't understand why you don't love me. And then the family has a kid, so the kid's trying to figure out, like, what their role is with Linny and how to grow up. And I love that they have this whole like 3-page section in here where Linny always sleeps with them at night, and the husband is like, we have to stop letting Linny sleep with us because he sleeps on my head, which is of course the opposite of us. We're like, sleep on her head, that's really cool. But he's like, he sleeps on her head, and he's constantly like waking us up in the middle of the night because he's hungry or he wants something. And then Linny, or I guess it's her, and then Linny drops the water on everybody's heads in the middle of the night, and they're like scream. And of course Linny's like, how dare you get mad at me, I was just trying to do an experiment and get some water out of this new cup. And so Linny loses bedroom privileges for a while, but then it's like, well, I don't understand why you don't why you have to sleep more than 4 hours. Everybody knows we sleep for 4 hours, then we get up and we do other things, and then we come back and sleep for another like 4 hours. It's just absolutely adorable, full of all of the best moments. If you are a cat lover, this is great. I love Linny meeting a dog. I love, it's just also good. The kid is like, I was born, I had Linny as an egg, and now Linny has to have eggs. And so like the kid gives Linny some toys and is like, these are your eggs. And Linny's like, I has eggs. So cute. So good. Just a wonderful, happy, heartfelt, hilarious story that everybody should read, especially if you own a cat, because of course there is actually no despair in this cat's life. They just think that there is because they're a cat. All right, we got some other books in stock this week. I'm going to fly through really fast, just so you know you didn't miss anything. We've got Conan the Barbarian, issue 12 from Titan Comics. This series kind of ignores everything that happened at Marvel and takes you back to Conan pre-Marvel, puts it all back together again. Annihilation is back, and we are doing Annihilation 2099, and this is specifically the featuring of Nova 2099. Walking Dead is being reprinted in color, and we have already hit issue 92 on those Walking Dead Deluxes. Shazam is out this week with issue 13 and those cool classic DC like character drawing pages. We've got My Adventures with Superman issue 2, Justice Society of America issue 10. We've got Garbage Pail Kids Trashing Through Time issue 5, and I always order these because the polybagged ones come with new Garbage Pail Kids cards for all you collectors. We had Werewolf by Night issue 1. This is the one-shot for the Blood Hunt Werewolf by Night. There is a Blood Hunt Werewolf by Night series to come that is red band. So if you didn't grab this because you were like, oh, I wanted the red band, you need this first, and then your red band Werewolf by Night story is coming in the future. Venom issue 35, Miles Morales issue 22, Kneel Before Zod issue 7. That is just like trucking along. I thought that one was going to end at 5, and then it's still going. Amazing Spider-Man annual for the year. Plus, speaking of Spider-Man, Spider-Man Reigns is back. We had volume 2, issue 1 of Spider-Man Reigns dropping this week. Gunslinger issue 33 and Scorch issue 31 for all of you Spawn fans. And speaking of people who are collecting all the things, Radiant Black issue 29 and 29.5 are out. If you didn't know, your Radiant Black story is split into 2 different arcs following both of our main characters, getting a little bit different story from their different points of view. Poison Ivy issue 24, and from what I've heard, Poison Ivy's old powers may be finally returning. Doctor Strange issue 17, Deadpool issue 4. We've got Batman issue 150, and this is part of your Absolute Power event, which, of course, we had Absolute Power issue 1 this week as well. And there is, I believe, going to be, is there going to be an Absolute Power checklist in there? Hopefully. There's a lot to come with Absolute Power. There is there it is. There's an Absolute Power checklist that's going to be at the back, so you know which books you should be picking up right now if you're grabbing that event. We've got The Boy Wonder issue 3 from Junie Baugh, which is such a cool way to do a Damian Wayne story. I love Junie Baugh's art. Birds of Prey issue 11. We've got Black Panther Blood Hunt issue 3 and Blood Hunters issue 3 for all you Blood Hunt collectors. And then we've got some great trades. So one of the things that came out is Far Sector got one of the DC Compact books out this week. If you haven't read this yet, this is one of your newest Green Lanterns. And this was a fantastic story. N.K. Jemisin writing it and Jamal Campbell on art. And this is all 12 issues. All-Star Superman also came out in compact issue, but I believe we are compact volume, but we are sold out of it, so we'll have to get some more of those in as well. We've got You and a Bike and a Road from Fantagraphics out this week, which is all about a journey across the landscape of America and through the heart and mind of an artist. This is a bike tour from Arizona to Georgia. We've got the volume 1 or story arc 1, however you want to look at it, whatever works for you, of Tom King's newest Wonder Woman story. This is so great. This is the America has declared war on Wonder Woman after and all Amazons after an Amazon accidentally, after an Amazon attacks somebody or allegedly attacks somebody. And now Wonder Woman is going after everybody who has gone after them. It's so good and amazing. And then finally, we've got Denizen, the whole thing from Vault with the amazing Chris Sheehan on art. This is a family road trip across the country, trying to find like that special way to bond as they become a blended family and right before they get married. And the kids and the dad to be end up having to save the mom after she, succumbs to some supernatural forces, and whether or not the family can come together and actually learn to work together, you're going to see through the beautiful, incredible art that is Chris Sheehan's work. And I'll show you just some of it just so you can see it. But you definitely want this, and it's the whole thing, so grab it. Don't forget, this week we have our book club for Sex Criminals #1. Again, it's Fresh Start Book Club. We only read 1 issue at a time, and then we move on to this Thursday night at 7. We are going to be reading this issue. Don't miss it. Seriously, if you haven't read this yet, spend the $1 and read it, whether you can make it to book club or not. But hopefully you can make it and come talk to us about it. We've also got all of the other things at the beginning of the show that I said we had going on, they're still going on. We've got a comic creation workshop, that's the one, this Saturday at 11:30, and we will be at the Shann Library on Friday for Academic Avengers in the morning. I believe that's also at 11. So come hang out with us. There's going to be all kinds of new things. Join us this Wednesday for new comics, and if we don't see you for any of those things, we will, of course, see you here next Sunday night at 9 to talk about all of the amazing comics that came out as we wind down your weekend. Until then, happy reading, everyone. Bye.